In June 2021, China had 9 machines in the top 20 of the global supercomputer ranking. 6 months later, that count had cratered. No announcements, no decommissioning. The machines were still humming. What collapsed was China's willingness to tell anyone they existed. The leaderboard did not reflect reality. It reflected what China chose to show. That distinction, it turns out, is worth an entire theory of how technology competition actually works when the prize for winning becomes a reason to lose on purpose. Here is what the next several minutes will show you. Export controls accidentally taught China something that a decade of supercomputing races never could. Disappearing from the list was not retreat. It was the power move. This is the story that gets missed in almost every Western headline about supercomputing leadership. The top 500 list ranks the world's fastest machines using a standardized benchmark called LinPack, published twice a year. China topped it from 2013 onward. Tianhe 2 held the crown. Then Sunway Taihu Lite arrived in 2016 and kept it. That debut came with a Gordon Bell Prize, the highest honor in high-performance computing, awarded by a peer-reviewed scientific body for a climate modeling run that set records. This was not a government press release. Independent scientists handed China a trophy. Think of that leaderboard the way small nations once thought of Olympic medal counts. Not intrinsically meaningful to daily life, but a scoreboard the whole world watches. So you played hard and celebrated loudly when you topped it. For roughly a decade, China played exactly that game. Then around 2021, the calculation changed. Not the hardware, the calculation. China's representation on the top 500 list dropped sharply after that year. Organizers and independent analysts documented the decline in submissions, not a decline in known Chinese hardware programs. Machines in the Sunway class, including the successor system known as Ocean Light, continued appearing in scientific literature and prize nominations. Their results were published. Their simulations were winning recognition. What stopped was the filing of the score. The most telling detail is that no official government statement explains the withdrawal. The interpretation that it is deliberate and strategic comes from analysts and from the timing. The United States Commerce Department's entity list had expanded in 2019 and again in 2021, each time targeting Chinese supercomputing facilities after they had been publicly identified as operating at the frontier. The mechanism was almost mechanical. A machine appears on the list, analysts note its capabilities, policymakers have a target. The top 500 submission was functioning as a step in its own sanctioning. My read on this. The 2019 entity list additions were the turning point. The lesson drawn was not build faster, it was stop advertising. The leaderboard had become a targeting database with a public interface. Imagine a poker player who stops showing their stack size to the table. Not because they are losing chips, because other players are using the display to decide when to call the floor on them. On the public ranking, the frontier system at Oak Ridge National Laboratory currently leads, powered by American-made chips. That is true, documented, and worth saying plainly. The United States holds the top of the list that people cite. What that sentence omits is that the list only measures machines whose operators chose to submit them, and that omission is carrying an enormous amount of weight. This is where the deeper layer sits. Ocean Light class machines are built around the Sunway SW26010-Pro processor, a domestically designed many-core chip. The system's own technical publications confirm it contains no NVIDIA graphics processor, no AMD graphics processor, no Intel Central Processing Unit, 0 American silicon. The fabrication process is reported in Chinese technical literature and state media as a domestic one. No third-party fab audit exists in the public record, so that specific node claim should be treated as the company's own assertion. But the practical implication is not in dispute. The export control lever has nothing to grip. There is no American component to restrict. This is not a procurement accident. The Sunway line has been domestically fabricated since Taihu Lite in 2016. That machine's Gordon Bell Prize win was for an application with 0 foreign library dependencies, a fact the prize committee specifically noted at the time. The independence was architectural from the start. The SW26010- packs roughly 390 cores on a single chip. Scale that to Ocean Light's cabinet count and the core total if each core were a person, would outnumber the population of a mid-sized European country. All coordinated, all domestic, all beyond the reach of an export ban. Sanctions work like a water shutoff valve. You turn off the pipe and the building goes dry. Ocean Light is not connected to that pipe. It drilled its own well years before the valve was threatened. The Gordon Bell Prize is awarded by a peer-reviewed scientific community, not a government press office. When Ocean Light class work wins it, that is independent corroboration that these machines are real and performing at a high level. It is one of the few external data points we actually have, and I want to be clear, it is not nothing. But here is the part most Western commentary misses. The silence is not embarrassment, it is doctrine. For decades, supercomputing leadership was demonstrated publicly because demonstration was the point. It signaled scientific capacity to allies, rivals, and domestic audiences simultaneously. The sanctions regime inverted that logic completely. Public demonstration of frontier capability now functions as an advertisement for the next round of restrictions. China's response was not to slow down. Reports suggest it was to decouple performance from announcement. Before I commit to that framing fully, I owe you the strongest case against it. First, we do not have an independent benchmark of Ocean Light's actual performance. The Gordon Bell Prize rewards a simulation result, not a raw LinPack score. It is possible, reports suggest unlikely, but possible, that China's frontier machines underperform the public ranking leaders on standard workloads while excelling on specific application types. No Western lab has run a benchmark on this hardware. Second, the fabrication node for the SW26010-Pro is, by most analyst estimates, behind what Taiwan Semiconductor produces at its leading edge, and behind what NVIDIA uses for its high-end data center processors. That gap matters for energy efficiency and for certain classes of machine learning workload. A prize-winning climate simulation machine is not automatically the right comparison point for large-scale artificial intelligence training. Third, strategic silence has costs. By not submitting to top 500, Chinese institutions also lose external credibility, international collaboration invitations, and the benchmarking feedback that comes from participation. The silence protects from sanctions, but reduces the soft power payoff that public rankings use to deliver. Weighing all three, the node gap is real and material, especially for artificial intelligence training. The performance claim is unverified at the system level, and the silence carries genuine trade-offs. But none of those 3 points erase the core structural fact. China has machines that run, that win peer-reviewed prizes, and that contain no component reachable by an American export ban. Uncertainty about their exact performance ceiling does not cancel the certainty of their independence from foreign supply chains. What China is practicing, in my synthesis, is strategic ambiguity applied to civilian computing, a doctrine more commonly associated with nuclear posture. You maintain capability, you do not confirm its extent. You let adversaries' uncertainty price it. The leaderboard used to be the proof of leadership. China treated it that way for a decade. Sanctions taught a different lesson. That proof is a vulnerability, and that a country comfortable with ambiguity has a structural advantage over one that needs to announce its wins to believe in them. Ocean Light does not need to be ranked first. It needs to exist, and to keep working, and to stay beyond reach. The wall did not stop it. It taught a new theory of competition entirely. Win, then go quiet. Ocean Light is still running simulations. Its score is still not on the list. That silence is now the most informative number in the ranking. The most powerful machine in the world might be the one you have never heard of, and that is no longer an accident. If you were running export control policy right now, what would you actually restrict, knowing the target machine has no American part left to sanction? Tell me in the comments. And if this kind of inside track geopolitical technology analysis is what you come here for, subscribe and turn on notifications. I run one of these a week, and I am not slowing down.